She was 17 years old when the world decided it owned her face. Not her talent. Not her mind. Her face. And from that moment forward, every filler, every contour, every surgically debated curve became public property, dissected, mocked, worshipped, and monetized. By strangers. By tabloids. By an entire generation of girls who didn't realize they were consuming a human being. But here's what nobody tells you about Kylie Jenner. She consumed it right back. She took every cruel meme, every vicious comment, every "she got work done" headline, and she turned it into $1 billion. She built an empire out of her own insecurity. She transformed her most vulnerable moment into the most powerful cosmetics launch in internet history. And yet, even after the Forbes cover, even after the Rolls Royces and the Hidden Hills compound and the private jets and the baby shower that looked like a film set, there were nights, according to people close to her, where Kylie Jenner sat completely alone in a house that cost more than most people's entire life savings, wondering if any of it was real. That question, is any of this real, is the question that haunts this entire story. Because Kylie Jenner may be the most fascinating paradox the social media age has ever produced. The most followed. The most photographed. The most imitated. And in 2026, as the dust of a decade of dominance begins to settle, possibly one of the most quietly exhausted women alive. This is her story. The full one. The one with the darkness still in it. Let's go back to the beginning. Because to understand who Kylie Jenner became, you have to understand what she was born into. August 10, 1997. Los Angeles, California. Kylie Kristen Jenner enters a world that is already, in every meaningful sense, a performance. Her father is Bruce Jenner, Olympic gold medalist, American hero, a man whose face graced Wheaties boxes and whose name was synonymous with athletic greatness. Her mother is Kris Jenner, a woman so strategically formidable that she would eventually be referred to, without irony, as the most successful momager in entertainment history. Her siblings, Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, Rob, and her closest companion, Kendall, just 2 years older, form a constellation of personalities that the world would spend the next 2 decades obsessively orbiting. On paper, it sounds like a fairy tale. And for a while, it looked like one. Kylie's early childhood was one of wealth, warmth, and a very particular kind of controlled chaos. The Jenner household was loud, affectionate, and relentlessly busy. Kris ran the family with the precision of a CEO and the warmth of a den mother, equal parts nurturing and calculating, a combination that would shape Kylie's understanding of love and business in ways she is probably still entangling today. The family lived in Calabasas, California, a gated, sun-soaked enclave where wealth wasn't merely present, it was the floor. Private schools. Designer wardrobes from childhood. A lifestyle so elevated it would have seemed fictional if it weren't being filmed. And that's the critical word. Filmed. Because in 2007, when Kylie was just 9 years old, a camera crew moved into her family's home. And nothing, absolutely nothing, was ever the same again. Keeping Up with the Kardashians premiered on October 14, 2007. Critics dismissed it. Industry insiders gave it maybe 2 seasons. It ran for 20 years. And in the process, it fundamentally rewired what fame, family, and female ambition looked like in America. For Kylie, being on the show as a child meant something specific and something profound. She grew up believing the camera was always on. That her life was content. That privacy was not a right but a negotiation. She was 9 when filming began. 9 years old, learning to exist for an audience. Learning which emotions played well and which ones needed to be tucked away. Learning, slowly and then all at once, that her family's income, her lifestyle, her school, her clothes, her future, was connected in some fundamental way to how entertaining her life appeared to strangers. By the time she was old enough to question that arrangement, she was already too deep inside it to find the shore. By the time Kylie was 13, 14, 15, she was no longer just a kid on a TV show. She was a public figure with a verified social media presence, millions of followers, and an internet that had very loud, very specific, very cruel opinions about her body. This is the part of Kylie Jenner's story that gets glossed over in the glossy retrospectives. The bullying was relentless. Not the casual, disposable kind. The industrial scale, coordinated, pile-on kind that only the internet in its most vicious configuration can produce. Forums dedicated to dissecting her appearance. Reddit threads comparing before and after photos with the clinical detachment of forensic analysts. Comment sections that treated a teenage girl's face like a public referendum. And Kylie, to her considerable credit, did not retreat. But make no mistake, it carved her. She once admitted, in a rare moment of genuine vulnerability, that she became deeply insecure about her lips specifically because of comments boys at school would make. That a teenage crush told her she had small lips and that he would never want to kiss her. One comment. One thoughtless, adolescent comment. And it ricocheted through her self-image with enough force to eventually reshape the entire beauty industry. Because Kylie Jenner did not just get lip fillers. She turned her lip insecurity into a product. She handed it to millions of girls who also felt like they weren't enough, and she made $1 billion doing it. The psychology of that move is almost too perfect to be accidental. November 30th, 2015. Kylie Jenner is 18 years old. She launches the Kylie Lip Kit. 3 shades. A matte liquid lipstick and matching liner. $29. Available online only. They sell out in less than a minute. The internet breaks. Fans flood social media with grief. Resellers immediately list the kits at 5, 6, 7 times the retail price. Beauty editors who had dismissed the launch as a vanity project for a reality TV star begin writing very different articles. Within a year, Kylie Lip Kits becomes Kylie Cosmetics. Within 2 years, the company is valued at over $800 million. Within 3 years, Forbes. The cover. The headline. America's youngest self-made billionaire. 21 years old. That phrase, self-made, will ignite one of the most heated debates in business media history. But we'll get to that. Because first, we need to talk about what was happening in Kylie's personal life while the empire was being built. And the first name we need to say out loud is Tyga. Michael Ray Nguyen Stevenson. Known professionally as Tyga. Rapper. 6 years Kylie's senior. Rumors of their relationship began circulating when Kylie was 17. The public reaction was immediate and fierce. Critics called it inappropriate. Some called it predatory. Questions were raised, loudly and persistently, about why the family, so vigilant about controlling their narrative in every other respect, seemed unbothered by the optics of their teenage daughter dating a 23-year-old man. For Kylie, navigating her first serious public relationship under those conditions, while simultaneously building a business empire, filming a reality show, and managing tens of millions of social media followers, was, by any reasonable assessment, a staggering amount of pressure for a young woman to absorb. By 2017, it was over. And almost immediately, a new chapter began. One that would change Kylie's life in ways no business deal, no Forbes cover, no sold-out lip kit ever could. His name was Travis Scott. Jacques Berman Webster II. Rapper. Producer. Cultural force. And the man who would become the father of Kylie's children. They met in April 2017 at Coachella. By summer, Kylie Jenner was pregnant. She was 19 years old. And here is where the story takes a turn that even the most devoted followers of the Kardashian-Jenner universe did not see coming. Kylie Jenner, the most followed person on Instagram, the woman whose entire brand was built on visibility and access, disappeared. For 6 months. No bump photos. No announcement. A silence so complete and so disciplined that even the most aggressive tabloids couldn't confirm what was happening. The world speculated. Theorized. Obsessed. And Kylie said nothing. On February 1, 2018, she posted a video to YouTube. 11 minutes and 42 seconds. No press release. No warning. Just a title, "To Our Daughter," and a world that collectively stopped scrolling. It opened with a quiet, devastating message that she had chosen not to share this pregnancy with the world. That this one thing, this one sacred, private, irreversible thing, was going to be hers. Within 24 hours, it was one of the most watched YouTube videos in history. Stormy Webster was born February 1, 2018. And something in Kylie Jenner cracked open. Something permanent. Something that no amount of brand strategy could fully reseal. This is the twist that changes everything you think you know about Kylie Jenner. For years, the story was about performance. A girl who had learned, perhaps too young, that her value was tied to her visibility. Who had built an empire on her image. Who existed, professionally and personally, in the permanent present tense of the content cycle. And then she hid a pregnancy from the entire world for 6 months. And the performance cracked. And something real came through. Motherhood gave her something no business deal could manufacture. Something that wasn't for sale. Wasn't for consumption. Wasn't content. In interviews following Stormy's birth, there was a different quality to Kylie. A groundedness. A willingness to be uncertain in ways the carefully constructed persona had never allowed. She spoke about postpartum anxiety with a directness that surprised people who expected deflection. "I feel like no one talks about how real it gets," she said. "It can be very hard." This from a woman who had spent her entire conscious life performing effortlessness. The mask had slipped. And what was underneath it was not the influencer, not the mogul, not the reality star. It was just a 20-year-old woman who was scared and exhausted and completely in love with her daughter and figuring it out in real time. But the world doesn't let you stay soft for long. In 2019, Forbes put Kylie on the cover and called her the youngest self-made billionaire in history. The internet erupted. The word self-made became the flashpoint. Critics argued, loudly and with considerable supporting evidence, that Kylie was definitionally not self-made. That she was born into extraordinary privilege. That her mother had negotiated her deals. That her family's fame had provided the launch platform without which Kylie Cosmetics could never have achieved what it did. Defenders countered that the vision was hers. That millions of wealthy, famous adjacent women had not built what she built. Both sides had points. What neither side fully acknowledged was the more uncomfortable truth sitting underneath the argument. Kylie Jenner's success was inextricably tangled with a machine she had been placed inside as a child. And that machine had costs that no valuation could capture. The self-made debate was ultimately a debate about what we're willing to count. And in 2020, Forbes itself revised its position, publishing a detailed investigation that suggested Kylie Cosmetics' revenues had been significantly overstated in documentation submitted to the press. Forbes stripped the billionaire title. The fallout was significant. The conversation brutal. And Kylie's response, measured, controlled, characteristic, revealed once again the professional discipline of someone who had been managing public perception since childhood. She didn't crumble. She pivoted. Also in 2020, Kylie made a business decision that surprised nearly everyone. She sold a 51% stake in Kylie Cosmetics to Coty Inc. for $600 million. The financial press analyzed it as a smart exit. A valuation lock-in. People closer to Kylie offered a different reading. She was tired. Not of success. Not of wealth. But of the specific, relentless exhaustion of being simultaneously the product and the producer. Of being both the face of the brand and the engine running it. Of waking up every single morning and being, inescapably, a business. The sale was, in some reading of it, a purchase. She was buying back some portion of herself. In 2021, Kylie announced her second pregnancy. This time publicly. Quietly confident. On her own terms. A short video. Stormy pressing her face against Kylie's stomach. Soft light. Private made briefly public, then reclaimed. Their son was born February 2, 2022. His name, initially announced as Wolf Webster, was reconsidered almost immediately. Kylie told the world the name didn't feel right. That they were still deciding. The internet, accustomed to instant access, waited. The name was eventually revealed as Air Webster. And in that small act, the refusal to rush a private decision to satisfy public appetite, you could see the full arc of who Kylie Jenner had been becoming. Now we arrive at the present. 2025 into 2026. And Kylie Jenner's story has entered what may be its most fascinating chapter yet. Her relationship with Travis Scott, the father of her children, the on-again off-again gravitational center of her romantic life for nearly a decade, finally reached what appears to be a permanent conclusion. By late 2024, sources close to both confirmed that co-parenting had become the primary framework. The romantic chapter, with all its turbulence and tenderness, had closed. Kylie, for her part, has moved through this transition with the composure of someone who has long since accepted that her personal life will always be partially public property, and who has also clearly decided, with increasing firmness, which parts of herself she is no longer willing to offer up. Her social media presence in 2025 and into 2026 has been notably different in texture. Still aspirational. Still carefully curated. But with more frequent glimpses of the unglamorous. Stormy doing homework. Air laughing at something off camera. Kylie without makeup in soft morning light, looking like someone's mother rather than the world's most followed brand. It is, in its way, the most radical thing she has ever posted. Kylie Cosmetics, meanwhile, has continued its evolution under the Coty partnership. New launches. Collaborations. A skincare expansion that reflects Kylie's own very public journey with her appearance, from the insecure teenager who got her lips done to a woman in her late 20s who speaks, with increasing openness, about the complex relationship between self-image and the beauty industry she helped reshape. There have been interviews in this period where Kylie has addressed her cosmetic procedures with a candor that was notably absent in earlier years. Acknowledging what she had done. Reflecting on why she had done it. Discussing, carefully, what she would tell a younger version of herself. These moments, unscripted feeling, emotionally honest in ways that are rare for someone so practiced at media navigation, suggest a woman who is quietly, deliberately, reconstructing her public identity on her own terms. Not the product. Not the brand. Not the content. The person. But here is where we must sit with something uncomfortable. Because even as Kylie Jenner moves towards something that looks more genuine, more grounded, more authentically human, the machine around her has never stopped running. The family enterprise continues. The Kardashian-Jenner world, with all its commerce and spectacle and relentless self-documentation, grinds forward. Kris Jenner, now in her 70s, remains one of the most active entertainment managers in America. And Kylie, for all her evident evolution, remains inside the machine. Which raises the question that has always been at the center of this story, now more pressing than ever as she approaches 30. Can you genuinely transform while remaining inside the system that formed you? Can you choose authenticity when your entire infrastructure is built on performance? Can you be both the person and the product? We are watching Kylie Jenner attempt to answer those questions in real time. And the honest answer, in 2026, is that we don't yet know. What we do know is this. Kylie Jenner has, by any material measure, won the game she was placed into. She has the wealth, revised, debated, but still staggering. The children she clearly adores with a fierceness that is one of the most unambiguously real things about her public persona. The creative enterprise she built from the raw material of a teenage insecurity. The influence that has outlasted trends, scandals, stripped titles, and the relentless churn of internet culture. She has, in almost every countable sense, everything. And yet, there are still moments, not many, but enough, where something flickers in her eyes when the question about happiness is asked. About fulfillment. About whether the life she's living is the life she would have chosen. She answers carefully. She always answers carefully. But the flicker is there, Because here is the question that Kylie Jenner's story leaves permanently open. What would she have been? What would she have wanted if the cameras had never come? If she had been born into wealth without spectacle? If her adolescence had been private? If her insecurities had been her own and not the internet's raw material? If she had been allowed to figure out who she was before the world decided who she was going to be? We will never know the answer to that question. And neither, perhaps, will she. That is the realest thing about Kylie Jenner's story. Not the $1 billion. Not the lip kits. Not the mansions or the Rolls Royces or the perfectly constructed grid. The thing you cannot buy back. The version of yourself that existed before the world got its hands on you. Kylie Jenner is 28 years old. She is still building. Still navigating, with more skill and more armor than most people will ever need, the extraordinary conditions of her existence. She posts. She launches. She mothers. She occasionally lets the mask slip just enough to remind you there's a real person underneath it. And the world watches. Because the world has always watched. And maybe that's the final, uncomfortable truth of this entire story. We critique the machine. We debate self-made. We dissect the surgery and the branding and the privilege and the Forbes numbers. But we keep watching. We have always kept watching. And as long as we do, the machine keeps running. The only question left, the one nobody wants to answer out loud, is who, exactly, built it. If this story made you think differently about fame, beauty, and the price of being watched, the video on your screen right now was made for you.